Hello and welcome to Post, the channel where we discuss all things hockey in all teams. There's been some magnificent careers cut short due to injury. It's really sad to see great players leave the game early. It happens more than it should. It's a sport that's so physical that it's inevitable. And regardless of how heavy they try to change the rules, there's always going to be someone getting injured. It's unavoidable at times, unfortunately.
The speed is high, these bodies are big, and they're banging into things, and it's very unfortunate. And some of these players have been game changers. They've actually changed the way the game is played, and who knows what we would have seen, if they were able to play a full 15 or 20 years.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But this is a conversation that Justin and I have had in the past, before I even started this channel. We're always talking hockey, and this is one of the conversations that we had. So speaking of Justin, he's actually filmed this video for me because it's a topic he's passionate about. He respects these great players, and he lived in a time where a lot of them that he's about to name went through their injury, and it's tough. But Justin, take it away.
All right, so today we are talking about NHL players who had their career cut short due to injury. Now, after going back through a lot of lists that I found online, there were a lot of players that sadly I kind of forgot about a little bit, because a lot of them had their career kind of before the time where I really became involved with hockey, because, well, I was just really too young to become involved in the sport of hockey. I only really started watching hockey religiously in probably 1989 when the Calgary Flames went on to win the Stanley Cup. So that was the year that I really started watching hockey. So sadly, this list may become a little biased in some ways, because I'm going to be concentrating on players that played during the era where I was watching hockey. But of course, there is one, well, I guess you could maybe classify two guys that really had their start in the NHL before my time. So now, with the 5 players that I've selected, they're not really in any order that I deem them of being, okay, this is the most famous career that was cut short due to injury, but instead they're just kind of 5 names as they came to me when I was thinking about this topic. Now, number 1 that popped in my head, which I'm sure would have popped into a lot of your heads as number 1, for me, was Bobby Orr. Now, Bobby Orr, to me, no, to be honest, this is tough. It really is, because when asked, okay, who's the greatest player of all time? Well, for me personally, I instantly say Wayne Gretzky. But Bobby Orr is that guy who just always comes up, because he did things as a defenseman that most players wouldn't even be able to dream of doing as an offensive forward. He won the scoring race. He's the only defenseman in history to win the Art Ross. To do that as a defenseman is just out of this world. And he did it with ease, in my opinion. And in my opinion, Bobby Orr was so humble that he probably could have done it again. But because being the class act that he is, I always felt that Bobby Orr kind of held back a little bit on his talents to not embarrass the other players on the ice. Now, Bobby Orr only played 657 games, so he didn't really have a very long, lucrative NHL career, but he made the years matter, the years that he played. So, in the short time that he had in the NHL, he won 8 Norris trophies, 3 Hart trophies, 2 Stanley Cups, and he had 915 points in those 657 games. So in the short career he had, he really made it mattered. And to me, you could definitely state that he is the greatest hockey player of all time, without question. Number 2 that popped in my head was Mario Lemieux. Now, to me, if Lemieux had been able to stay healthy throughout his entire career, I honestly believe that Mario Lemieux could have beaten many of Wayne Gretzky's records in the NHL. He's the only guy on the list of the all-time leaders in points, having played less than 1,000 games, yet he's there in the top 10 of all-time points. He only played 915 games, yet he had 1,723 points. I mean, it's just incredible, the numbers that he had. He was, to me, and still is the greatest power forward of all time, Mario Lemieux. Now, of course, in the 90s, it started with the back issues and then the Hodgkin's lymphoma disease that he went through. And he's the guy that retired several occasions and came back, and then unfortunately had to retire for the last time in 2007 due to a hip injury and, of course, the irregular heartbeat stuff that he went through. But again, here's a guy that was able to take the limited time he had and really make it matter because, of course, the 2 back-to-back Stanley Cups and, of course, the other countless individual awards that Mario Lemieux has won. So to me, if you're ever looking at lists of top players of all time, Mario Lemieux should always be in your top 5 picks, without question. Number 3 on my list is Eric Lindros. I kind of ranted about him a little bit in the last video I did, but again, he would have had a very, very illustrious career had it not been for the concussion issues that he faced a little later on in his career. He only played 760 games, but he did have 865 points. So again, well over a point a game player, which you really want to see when you're building your franchise around a power forward. Now, he had to retire at the age of 34, so that's a lot younger than most NHL players would like to see retirement come about. But unfortunately, with the post-concussion syndrome that he was battling at the time, it was the right move to make when looking toward his future. And like they always say, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. So Eric Lindros was number 3 on my list. Number 4, Pat LaFontaine. He was definitely one of those all-star forwards who, unfortunately, had to hang up the skates early. Once again, another player going down this road due to the post-concussion syndrome that he was suffering from. Now, he reached 1,000 points in fewer than 1,000 games. So he's an elite company, Pat LaFontaine. But unfortunately, he only got to play 15 seasons for his entire career. I really think he could have been a lot higher up for the overall point totals, Pat LaFontaine, if it wasn't for the post-concussion syndrome. And it's unfortunate, If you look at, say, if we built this list out more, up to 15 or 20 players, I'd like to actually see the percentage of players whose career were cut short due to concussion issues. I can almost guarantee that the majority would be due to concussion and concussion-related issues. Now, last on my list that I built out is Paul Kariya. Paul Kariya was one of my favorite players, but unfortunately, his career was cut short. Actually due to the same reason, post-concussion syndrome. And he was exactly a point-per-game player upon his retirement. 989 points in 989 games played. Now, he did have a 15-season career, so, he did get 15 seasons under his belt. But again, you like to see guys of this magnitude get minimal 20 seasons in for their career. Now, of course, he started with the Ducks and then went on to Colorado and then with the Predators and St. Louis. And, so Paul Kariya was around. But to me, he's one of those players that really stuck out. And I always found that he had a very significant skating stride. And I always noticed when he would pick up the puck, I could instantly pick out Paul Kariya just based on his movements on the ice. It was very unique, I found. So again, a great career cut short due to concussion-related issues. And, he's the type of guy who kind of, in my opinion, holds a lot of hatred towards the NHL based on the way that his career sadly ended. And that's why we don't really see a lot from Paul Kariya post-retirement. Now, other names that you could easily put on this list that really stuck out to me would be Marc Savard, Pavel Bure, Rick DiPietro, Mike Bossy, that would be a really good one. Keith Primo, that would be another really good one. But again, there's a lot of players who sadly had to hang up their skates early due to injury. So those are the 5 that popped into my head first. So I'm curious to know who you think would be number 1 overall, whose career was unfortunately cut short due to injury. So until the next video, take it easy, guys.
All right, Justin, thank you very much for doing that. I really appreciate it. I know there's a lot of Justin fans at home out there, so they always appreciate him sneaking into a video. So Justin, thank you, and thanks for joining me. This is just a quick video on our end, but we'll see you in the upcoming videos. We're filming lots, so keep an eye out for those. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button, and we'll see you in the next one. Adios.